You know, after more than 30 years in this profession, there's one pattern I keep seeing over and over again. And every time, it makes me both sad and concerned. So many people take their blood pressure just once, look at that single number on the screen, and then let it decide their entire mood for the rest of the day. Some panic, some increase their medication on their own. Others say to themselves, well, today looks good. I guess I don't need my pills anymore. And I need to tell you this honestly. That is one of the most dangerous mistakes you can make. One of my patients, Jack, 63 years old, came to see me looking completely shaken. He said, Doctor, this morning I checked my blood pressure once and it was 165. I was terrified. I almost called an ambulance. So I asked him, what were you doing right before you took that measurement? He went quiet for a few seconds, then said softly, I had just argued with my son and drank 2 cups of coffee back to back. You see, our bodies are not machines. Blood pressure doesn't stay frozen at one number. It changes with your emotions, with the way you're sitting, with how you slept the night before, and with whatever you just did before wrapping that cuff around your arm. One single minute of anxiety can send that number climbing. One short argument can make your heart race faster than usual. Let me put it this way. Imagine stepping on a scale right after a big holiday dinner, then panicking because your weight suddenly jumped. Would that be fair to your body? Blood pressure works the same way. That's why I tell all my patients, never trust a single reading. Take a second one, 1 or 2 minutes later, when your body has had a chance to settle. And very often, it's that second number that tells the real story. Have you ever felt that before? The first reading shoots up, your heart is pounding in your chest. But the second time, when you slow your breathing, drop your shoulders and let go, the number softens. That's not a miracle. That's normal human physiology. What truly matters is this. Don't let a single number control your fear. Learn to measure correctly, measure consistently, and measure with calm. Because calmness, believe me, can sometimes be one of the strongest medicines for the heart. Now there's something else I need to say. With all the seriousness of someone who has seen far too many preventable tragedies, never change your blood pressure medication on your own. Don't increase it, don't decrease it, and never stop it just because you feel fine today. One of my patients, Helen, 71 years old, smiled at me during a follow-up visit and said, Doctor, I've been feeling so light and well lately. My blood pressure has been 115/70 every day, so I figured I must be cured. I stopped my medication 3 days ago. She said it with such confidence. 1 week later, she was hospitalized with a mild stroke. Thankfully, she survived. But not everyone is that lucky. You see, high blood pressure is a silent disease. When you feel good, when you feel stable, when the numbers look beautiful, that's usually when the medication is doing its job. Stopping it at that point is like turning off an airplane's engine in mid-flight just because the ride feels smooth and quiet. And then there are people who go in the opposite direction. They see one high reading on a stressful day, panic, and double their dose on their own. I ask them why, and they say, I was scared, doctor. And I understand that fear. Truly, I do. But I also have to tell you the truth. Fear-driven medication mistakes can be even more dangerous than high blood pressure itself. Blood pressure medicine isn't like a pain pill you take for a headache. It acts directly on your heart, your blood vessels, and your brain. Too little, and the heart struggles harder. Too much, and your pressure can drop too low, causing dizziness, falls, even cardiac arrest. I want you to remember one simple truth. Doctors adjust medication based on medical knowledge and your full health history. When we adjust it ourselves, we usually do it based on emotion, and your heart should never be placed in the hands of emotion. If one day your blood pressure seems unusually high, stay calm. Measure again. Write it down. Then bring that number to your doctor. Don't face it alone in silence. You are not alone on this journey, and you never have to fight it by yourself. There's a question I've been hearing over and over again for years now. Doctor, I measure my blood pressure all day long, and it's always different. So which number is actually the real one? And I usually smile, then ask the simple question in return. When exactly are you measuring it? You see, the time you take your blood pressure determines more than half of the accuracy of that number. But very few people truly pay attention to this. Many measure it right after climbing the stairs, after a stressful phone call, after drinking coffee, or even while rushing to get out the door. Then they see that high number, and they carry that fear with them for the rest of the day. One of my patients, Michael, 58 years old, once told me, "Doctor, my blood pressure is always high." So I asked him, "When do you usually check it?" He answered honestly, "Right before I go to work, when I'm late and worrying about everything." I simply nodded. That was all I needed to hear. I immediately understood why his numbers always looked worse than they truly were. I'd like you to imagine your body as a calm lake. Early in the morning, just after you wake up, everything is still. The surface barely moves. That's when the reflection is the clearest. Blood pressure works the same way. In the morning, after you wake up, use the bathroom, sit quietly for about 30 minutes before eating and before taking your medication. That's when we get the reading that's closest to your body's true baseline. The evening works the same way. When you've let go of the worries of the day, when the house grows quiet, when your mind is no longer chasing deadlines and responsibilities, that's also a good time to measure. I don't need you to check your blood pressure all day long. What I do need is consistency. Once in the morning, once in the evening, for several days in a row. Write it down. Bring it to your doctor. Those numbers placed side by side will tell us a very honest story about your heart. Have you ever noticed this? Sometimes it's not that your body is acting up. It's simply that you're listening to it at the wrong time. And in medicine, listening at the right moment is just as important as listening the right way. Now, there's another very small thing, so small that many people think it doesn't even matter. But in medicine, it's often the smallest things that change everything. And that is your posture when you take your blood pressure. I still remember a patient named Linda, 66 years old. She told me, "Doctor, every time I check my blood pressure, it's always high." I asked her how she measured it. She smiled gently and said, "I lie back on my bed, lift my legs up so I'm comfortable, and wrap the cuff on my arm." I couldn't bring myself to scold her, because the truth is, many of us do the same thing. We think as long as we have the machine, that's enough. But the body doesn't work that way. When you lean back, when your legs are crossed, when your arm is hanging without support at heart level, the blood flow in your body changes. And when blood flow changes, the number on the screen changes too. It can be higher than reality, lower than reality, and you have no idea that you're looking at a distorted number. Think of it like this. It's as if you're trying to read a line of text reflected in a mirror, but the mirror is tilted. The words themselves aren't wrong, but the way you're seeing them makes everything look wrong. Your posture while measuring blood pressure is that mirror. The correct posture sounds simple, yet it's what most people overlook. Sit with your back straight, feet flat on the floor, no crossing your legs, arms supported at heart level on a table. And for those few short seconds, don't talk, don't move, and don't breathe fast as if you're climbing a hill. Another patient once told me honestly, "Doctor, every time I check my blood pressure, I get nervous. The moment the machine starts, I hold my breath." I smiled on the outside, but inside I was concerned, because holding your breath, feeling anxious, tensing your muscles, all of that can make your blood pressure rise within seconds. Sometimes I think it's not that your blood pressure is being difficult. It's simply that you haven't yet given your body a peaceful enough posture to tell you the truth. And there's one deeper truth I had to spend many years to truly understand. Your blood pressure doesn't only come from your heart. It comes from the way you live your life each day. Medication isn't always the complete answer. Yes, it helps you control it. But your lifestyle is what decides how long that control will truly last. I once treated a 59-year-old man named George. His blood pressure was extremely difficult to control, even though he took his medication faithfully every single day. At every follow-up visit, his numbers were still high. I adjusted his medication, I changed his treatment plan, but nothing really improved. Until one day I asked him a very simple question. "How many hours do you sleep each night?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "About 4, sometimes only 3. So I asked again, Do you worry a lot? He gave me a sad little smile and said, all the time. Short nights, stress-filled days, salty food because it goes down easier, very little movement because he was always exhausted. All of those things, little by little, were pushing his blood pressure higher every single day, quietly, steadily, without making a sound. You know, there are things that can raise blood pressure even more than a bowl full of salt. One of them is long-term stress. There are things that can age your blood vessels faster than time itself, and that is poor, broken sleep. And there are things that can make your medication work far less effectively, and that is a lifestyle that no longer listens to the body. I'm not saying you have to change everything in one single day. No one can do that. But I deeply believe in the power of very small changes. Going to bed just 30 minutes earlier, taking a slow 10-minute walk each day, cutting the salt in your dinner in half, turning off the TV a little earlier so your mind can finally be quiet. When these small changes add up, they can gently calm your heart in ways that medication sometimes cannot. And now, before this video comes to an end, I want to ask you one very honest question. Starting tomorrow, what is one small thing you're willing to change for your heart? If you found these words helpful, please tap the like button on this video. Not for me, but for yourself, as a quiet promise that you will take a little better care of your health each day. And if you know someone who is silently struggling with high blood pressure, please share this video with them. It may become a small lifeline in a moment when they feel lost in worry. We cannot turn back time, but we can always choose to live better starting today.